Sweet and Elite was the final episode that made Rarity the main focus in the MLP series, at least until Season 4 comes around. She certainly made future appearances and was even part of the focus in Secret of My Excess, Putting Your Hoof Down, and Dragon Quest, but you couldn't really say that any of those episodes are her story. When you get right down to it, we've gone at least 30 episodes of MLP without having Rarity the main focus in the story. She really needs more than one episode in Season 4 to her name. But getting back to Sweet and Elite, just how well does Rarity hold up here? As the episode begins, we see that Rarity has been given a suite at the castle in Canterlot, at the behest of Princess Celestia herself. Rarity is thoroughly enjoying her stay at the capital, even talking about how she may have been born in Ponyville, but she has always been a Canterlot pony at heart. I've often wondered just when Rarity decided upon her lifelong dream to become part of the Canterlot elite. It would be interesting to see whether Rarity had ever visited Canterlot in her youth. I'm also finding it interesting that most every pony we see in Canterlot is almost fully clothed. Rarity actually stands out a bit here, as she is only wearing a hat. It makes for a bit of an interesting transition between Ponyville and Canterlot. When a fancy couple starts asking Rarity about her hat, they are interrupted by one Hayseed Turnip Truck, who happens to know Rarity from a hoedown back in Ponyville. Despite the embarrassing scene, Rarity actually shows herself being polite. But once this high-class couple discovers Rarity's origins, they immediately start turning up their noses. Apparently, Ponyville citizens don't even come close to being worthy of their attention. And this gets Rarity into overdrive as she becomes dead set on creating something that will catch the attention of all the Canterlot elite. But she doesn't even have to go that far when she quite literally bumps into the elite of the Canterlot elite. I've already mentioned before that Fancy Pants seems a little different from the other members of high society. He shows himself to be more polite and upbeat. And once he discovers that Rarity is staying at the castle and was invited by Princess Celestia herself, he invites Rarity to take part in some of the social gatherings around Canterlot. Now, Rarity doesn't immediately jump at this opportunity. She actually takes the time to weigh her decision, as this would cut into the amount of time she has for creating Twilight's birthday present. And even though Rarity ends up believing that she can do both, it is nice to see that the writers gave this moment to Rarity to show that she is thinking about her friends even when opportunity knocks. However, when Rarity does take part in chatting with these high society ponies at the Wonderbolt Derby, she starts making up some little white lies to stay on good terms. Now, it is easy to see that her experience early on in this episode would cause her to think twice about telling others where she hails from. But this is only the beginning of a slippery slope that will spiral well out of control before the end of the episode. Once Rarity has gotten into good graces with the other high society ponies, we can see just how well she thrives in that environment. All she really needed was to get noticed, and then she manages to soar. We know that Rarity has been dreaming about joining the ranks of the Canterlot elite from the very first episode. And once she has that opportunity, she doesn't even have to try very hard to keep their attention. And then we come to the second song of Season 2, and I must say that Becoming Popular certainly stands out a lot more than the Find a Pet song. Becoming Popular seems more consistent, without any awkward lyrics. It has a very upbeat tone, and the animation moves the story along quickly without feeling like it is rushing anything. We also get some interesting commentary on high society, as most every pony we see is following Rarity's lead. Even among the Canterlot elite, there are a great many unspoken rules about how everyone should act, and it doesn't seem like any of them want to strike out on their own. I suppose this is another reason why Rarity stands out, because she is not quite so afraid to speak her mind and make her own destiny. However, in the next scene, we see Rarity starts becoming afraid of losing the reputation that she has built up over these past few days. Her actions here start to become unsettling because she is now outright lying to her best friends in order to stay in Canterlot. Rarity might have come here to pick up some new fabrics, but the whole reason she was invited to the Wonderbolt Derby by Fancy Pants was because she was staying in a suite at the castle at the invitation of the princess herself. And she wouldn't have any of that were it not for Twilight in the first place. Rarity decides that leaving Canterlot might upset her one chance to stay in the good graces of the Canterlot elite. And there might be a little truth to that. But when I look at this situation, I can't help but lose a little of my respect for Rarity here. She might be losing out on an opportunity that was only possible because of her friend's efforts. And the situation is made all the worse when her friends show up in Canterlot just so they can include Rarity at the birthday party. Rarity could have come clean right then and there, but still tries to keep up the facade. At least with the Canterlot elite, Rarity had a previous experience that showed her what would likely happen if she came clean about her Ponyville origins. So you could claim that she was giving out little white lies just to stay in their good graces. But this episode actually does a really good job in showing just how quickly little white lies can spiral out of control. Even in front of her best friends, one of which is directly responsible for giving Rarity this wonderful opportunity, she is still trying to avoid getting caught in her words. And Twilight once again shows just how good of a friend she is when she is overjoyed at the rather simple dress that Rarity had only spent a couple of minutes putting together. I do enjoy seeing the party they put up here. There's some really fun big band swing style music in the background, which would actually make for some excellent dance music in real life. And we also have the infamous party cannon, which has become a staple of Pinkie Pie's character, especially among the fan community. And when Rarity begins switching between the two parties, it's interesting to see just how much pomp and circumstance they put into the garden party and just how spur of the moment Twilight's birthday party seems to be. It makes for some rather enjoyable transitions. But when Rarity finally gets caught in the act, you'd think that we would finally see her fess up to what she's really been doing all this time. Except that Twilight once again shows just how understanding and giving she can be when she suggests that Rarity should go out and mingle with the high society ponies. We get to see the rest of the main six showing off just how much they clash with the pomp and circumstance of the Canterlot elite, and Twilight's dancing is still just plain adorable. But when the moment of truth finally comes to light, Rarity actually does do the right thing when she talks about no matter where you go in life, you should never forget that you are the product of your home and your friends. And I do admire that kind of lesson, as it can be rather easy to forget about all the people who have made you into who you are today. But I still had to go through many moments in this episode where Rarity's actions seem rather unsettling. As I've stated before, this story does a good job in showing how little white lies can turn into a far greater problem the more you perpetuate them. But we don't see Rarity actually learning that lesson here. I can only hope that she won't do something like this again. But if another situation arises that perhaps doesn't involve her friends so directly, I still have to wonder whether Rarity will actually remember her experiences here. Putting that aspect aside, though, this is still a very enjoyable episode with a very valuable message, even though they could have presented a conclusion to another equally valuable lesson. I enjoy both the Becoming Popular song as well as a lot of the background music. There's some surprisingly good social commentary here about high society, and a lot of fun moments to balance everything else out. We get to see Rarity getting one step closer to her dream, and it really does make me want to see how she'll accomplish the next step. But what do you think? Does this episode stand out in your mind? Do you think Rarity will ever achieve her dream of joining the ranks of the Canterlot elite? Does this episode set a good example in regards to the lessons learned? I would like to hear your thoughts about Sweet and Elite, and as for me, I really need to get back into swing dancing again. Until next time, I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.